Life is hectic, demanding, and doesn't stop. When honest with ourselves, we must confess we often don't know what the hell we're doing. The Larkcast is an ongoing conversation about the inclusive and mischievous nature of God's presence through the lens of all the things that make up this phenomenon we refer to as life. Astonishing grace and refreshing honesty collide right here for your weekly encouragement.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Larkcast. My name's Tony. With me is Russ. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? Let me get my cup here.
Cheers. Got your Duke mug.
I do.
Who's that
Come
cat?
on,
Who's that Christian Leitner 2.0 cat that they got? That's like tearing up.
Oh
Tearing
yeah,
it up.
man. Cooper Flag.
Cooper Flag.
Dude, he's so funny.
Just
He's like this
dominating
big,
people.
yeah, 10, does it all, right? Like 7 assists, 8 rebounds, 4 steals, 3 blocks,
Mm-hmm.
27 points. 3 of them were threes. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty awesome. Looks
Yeah.
looks like a kid, but they beat the Tar Heels, man.
And that's
They
all that
they
matters.
That's all that matters, man. And
It's all that matters.
I know there's a few people out there that are gonna hate me for saying that, but they know it's true. So I
Well,
had to bring this mug out, man.
yeah, I don't say that's all that matters because I'm a Duke fan, but I understand rivalries and how, like the Bears could go 2-15, but if both of those wins are against the
Yeah,
Packers, we're all high-fiving each other.
yeah, yeah. Spending a few years in that city, I can, I can, I can, I can testify to that being a real thing for people there.
Yeah, so I get it. I understand rivalry. But yeah, the dude's tearing it
Yeah, man.
up.
Yeah. Speaking of rivalry, let me share with you this tweet from a church leader this week.
Jarrett.
No, I'm just
Oh, I thought you were going,
kidding.
dude, I thought we were going to start talking shit. Let's go. Let's
It's
go.
hard. It's so hard, man. It's so hard. Uh, it's like you wanna speak truth, right? To things that are helpful to people, man. But you also, just don't want to be out here just crapping on people, man, left and right. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but it's like you have to be able to show people what's true, right? Isn't that like, hey, man, maybe there's something else here.
Well, if you haven't gone beyond, your dad's the devil, then you haven't yet crossed the line, you know,
I think that's a
that
good
that
point.
Jesus crossed.
Yeah, if you haven't said their dad's a devil and called them, brood of vipers, or went and made a homemade whip and just absolutely wreaked havoc, on their actual home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like and then, and if you want to say, well, Jesus is not the standard, I mean, come on, guys. Let's pick something, tangible here, like Paul. It's like, okay, well, in Paul's case, if you haven't if you haven't told these guys that you wish they would emasculate themselves in this conversation of circumcision and law keeping and why it's needed to validate that you're a true follower,
Yeah, and just for
then
our
I feel like we're safe.
yeah, just for our audience sake, this is really the conversation for the last long time. I mean, I don't know what episode this is, 160 something.
Yeah.
Before that, we had 100 episodes under a different name, and
Yep.
we've been fighting the urge to just, really say it, and like peeling back and trying to show restraint.
Yeah.
It's been it's been our wrestling, our struggle.
It has. I have found a freedom, and let's go forth with love. Let's go forth with kindness, but let's also go forth with truth. and just say like, nah, man, yeah, because the crowd is out there, dude.
Oh, the crowd is out there for sure. Yeah, that was a man, I was just reminded of that in a, you know, a new way, a fresh
Mm,
way. I was reminded of it in a fresh way. This past weekend, I went and hit a golf simulator with a with an old bud. Went to high school with him. Um, we kind of were in the church world together a little bit. His oldest son's 22, former baseball
mm.
player, went to school for baseball, small college, wrecked his body. So now he's like in the, he's doing some pipe fit and stuff and going the blue collar route. Just had a blast with those guys. Which I
That's
have
awesome.
taken. So just to let everyone know, I have taken up golf. Golf is like a new thing for me. It took me till 44 to jump in, but I do have the bug. So I'm just going to confess to everyone on here that I'm a golf bro now. Um, I'm gonna try to bring my own like swag to it and not like fall into the, foot joy, tucking my, you know, golf polos into my pleated khaki golf pants, not that route. But it's kind of crazy, like because we always talk about brands and like I just that's what I do for a living. And there's a ton of really freaking cool golf brands out there and they're just
I'm about
going
to
all
say
in that are going all in on like, yeah, dude, like you suck, like but like let's just have fun. Um, like Macklemore.
I think that trailer park one would fit you.
I like there's a lot of them I like. Macklemore's got a brand called Bogey Boys. It's
Yep,
really
I've
cool.
seen that one too. I like the trailer park one because they all have like garage shirts, like what you'd see like a mechanic wear.
That's cool. Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
It's
But there's so many.
it makes me want to golf.
Yes. Yeah,
It
like
makes
you
me want
got
to golf.
you got golf brands doing collabs with like members from the Wu-Tang Clan, and I'm just like, take all my money, dude. Take all my money. Dude, I got a golf because you know how you have your bag and then you have, like a golf towel, golf rag, whatever. So I got a Wu-Tang golf rag hanging off my camo golf bag. Um, yeah, I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it fresh, keeping it me. But
I'm wondering how many minutes you'll go and justify this new golf, this
oh,
new golf love
oh,
with the swag.
I'm married, so of course my justification game is
It's strong.
it's strong. I've been married for a long time too. 22 years coming up in
Man, I
March.
share a checking account with somebody, bro.
Yeah, you
Don't
got
be
to
trying to come
justify.
at me like I ain't got skills.
Yeah. Like I don't know how to argue.
Man, I secretly
That's a
took
good
a
one.
master class from the FBI director in
Yes.
negotiations
Yes.
just so I could spare up some golf money for my wife.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, dude,
But
that's
anyways, I was golfing with these dudes, and of course, they used to know me as like a pastor or whatever. And if golf will do anything, it'll make you cuss. So I'm like
oh
flipping
man,
off the screen and f bombing and cussing and stuff. And of course, I'm
just a normal
more
Sunday morning.
yeah, of course, I'm more free, in my later years instead of trying to maintain an image of what a pastor ought to be. Um, and so I'm just a regular blue-blooded dude that's gonna F bomb after he fricking shanks a drive, 80 yards straight left into the trees. Uh,
Mm.
so, anyways, we were just having a really, really cool conversation, and my buddy's son, like I said, he went to this. It was a Christian college, and he was like, "Yeah, man." He was just talking about his experience there. He goes, "Dude, they make you go to chapel twice a week, and they count it for like your grade, and it's
Mm.
like Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you got to scan this QR code." And he was just talking about like him and his buds and this kind of workaround that they were doing, where they started this weekly schedule going down the list of all of his homies, and then they would go and like scan it and take a picture of because you had to like scan and you had to take a picture of chapel that you were there. So then one guy would go scan it, take the picture, then they would all run by, quickly scan it, and then use his picture to upload or whatever, you know?
That's
And
amazing.
I was just dying laughing.
This dude's a
Um,
lark.
yeah, 100%. And so that like sparked a really cool, um, pretty long conversation between all three of us, as we're playing Medina golf course in Chicago on the simulator in Northwest Indiana. And yeah, he just talked about just what that did, to him, as a
Mhm.
now in his 20s, um, kind of probably like looking at faith in a different way. I mean, he's in that stage of his life where it's like, yeah, like you're a man now, and it's not this thing to where it's like, okay, I just go to church with my family, um, and yeah, just the disillusion, in that we started talking about all the stuff that we talk about on here all the time, about just this desire to control the outcome of your faith, of your spiritual maturity, and thinking that these environments, where it's come, sit, listen to a speaker, it's probably some shitty worship on there. Um, and this environment, is going to ensure, that you stay believing, stay growing, stay maturing, stay
Yeah.
believing, all that. And yeah, we just had a really fun conversation about how crazy it is that they think that that's the thing that's going to do it, all in an effort to be like Jesus, when the person they're trying to become like did none of these things, nor did he start any of these things, nor did he hand off any of these things, nor did he give us any commandments to be doing, these things. And it gave
These
way
things.
to a lot of really cool conversation about just a life of freedom, a message of no condemnation, how beautiful it could be
Mm.
if church was literally, I just said, like, what if it was just this, like this conversation right here? I'm like, I'm all for this.
Yeah.
This to me is life giving. And he was like, yeah, man, like I love this. Like I'll do this all day long. And then I just got into like my story and, just my journey away from, vocational ministry and why, and some of the, the reasons and the experiences and the underpinnings there and stuff. And it was just a really, really cool conversation. Turned him on to the Larkcast and all that. So Jaden, Rich, if you guys are listening, what's up?
Dude, what's up, man? Glad you homies are in the conversation. I love that. And I love I love the scheming that he had, man. I was wondering if it was like,
Oh, dude,
they
I
all
love
like
it.
I wonder if they like had like a pool of dudes and like, basically just each guy, had to take a turn, man. And so this guy shows up, to chapel with like a whole arm full of bands. And there's like a bag full of phones. And he's like taking one out at a time, taking a picture.
He said they
And like
eventually
he,
got busted,
like,
which I
like
was
he
like, of
did his
course.
duty for like, he's good, man, for the next 8 weeks.
Hmm.
Man, that's pretty amazing. And when you said what you said out loud, I found myself, and if I'm just being honest, it's how I feel. There is such a freedom in what you're saying because it's true. And I don't understand why it's so complex for people, or why it's so hard. Like when you stop and think, okay, so in the name of following Jesus, I'm like you said, I'm going to go do something he never did, never said to do, right? Ever. The early church didn't do any of these things. Why, why, why are we doing this?
Hmm.
It's not being mean, right? It's not, somebody said, well, man, that just seems like rebellious, against the church. I'm like, is it rebellious, or is it just a return to what Jesus actually said and did and called us into?
Hmm.
And of course, there's no, like, they know that, but yet, right, that pull for some reason is still there, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're
It's
you're
weird.
poking at the very foundation these just assumed um
Yeah.
these assumed things that we were all handed in the
Yeah.
name of faith. Um, and it's kind of it's the frog in the boiling water, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's very hard to critique your own rhythms, assumptions, and those kinds of things, even though we're all about the scriptures as like the foundation, and we're all about like studying, the life of Jesus and the things that are there. And then you're like, it ain't here. It's
It
not
ain't
here.
here.
It's
So
not
you
here.
just contradicted everything you said you were committed to. What what are we doing?
Yep.
Oh man, it's so true. It
But
made me think about,
as you know, if you got a bunch of people who stop going to church, stop showing up on Sundays and just go all in on, just
friendship.
the way of friendship and honest conversations, and get into a rhythm of that, get into a habit
Yeah.
of that. There's gonna be a there's gonna be a lot of budgets that decrease. There's gonna be a lot of people who lose their jobs.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, and that's happening, man. Like crazy. And as much as I'm saddened for the some of the people who get, have to rethink careers within that,
Yeah, that's not easy.
I'm also excited. Yeah. I'm gonna be that guy in the room who, and I've done this when asked, like, so you'd be okay like if all the church buildings closed? 100%.
100%.
100%. I think it would be the best thing that ever happened,
Hmm. Yep.
beside the good news,
Yep.
because it would force the beautiful simplicity of what the church actually is. And good news would be unconditional again, because no one would need to sell it. And faith could be unhurried again.
Yep.
And that happens through unbranded community, man.
Yeah, it's your faith has been um inex inexplicably, like, it's been married to
Yeah.
behavior and attendance and do's and don'ts. And if that thing's just stripped from you, the rug pulled out right from
Yep.
underneath you, and you have nothing to hang your hat on, you have nothing to put into your hands to bring to say, look, I'm
Yep.
doing these things, dude, that's when you're going to start to for real see what Jesus is saying.
Yeah. And experience him in a really beautiful way, man.
Hmm.
And just to be clear, like, because I'm going to throw this out here, we could talk about this on another podcast, but I feel like the same thing is true, like even within like the quote unquote like grace camps. Like on one hand, you do have here's the tools and the tips for how to become the ideal self and build the ideal society, right? Like you know, the internet's just right, flooded with that, and corners with church buildings. But you also find, on the other hand, within like, again, it's called grace, but when you actually dig into it, it's not grace. It's not, an unconditional loving father, right? It's a way to every week to at least feel like you're doing something in a sense that you're owning your brokenness, and you're at least showing your gratitude, right, in worship. And I'm like, yeah, with Jesus, we don't find him inviting us into a life of becoming someone for him, but we also don't find him inviting us into an endless cycle of feeling broken and making sure we're grateful.
Hmm.
We actually find a God who's looking at us and saying, "You've always been my child.
Hmm.
I've always been with you. I've always loved you. I'm not going to stop loving you.
Yeah. Yep.
Can we get off the cycle now and just get back to friendship here?"
Hmm. Yeah.
And man, I feel like it's good, man. It's encouraging.
Yeah, I think
I
that's kind of what I came away with. Like, there's larks everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of people are, even who go through the rhythms, because they feel like this is it. This is the only thing that I have. And they're
Yep.
uninspired and they're bored and, they're bothered by it and burned out on it. But they've just never heard or been offered another way. And of course, nobody in that world is gonna try to undo or disrupt what's going on because that's not good for business. Um, so yeah, it was just a really cool reminder. I was thankful for
Dude,
that conversation.
amen, man. I'm gonna throw this out and I'm gonna give a little preface to it because uh from what I just read, this can be very alarming. Um, so and just to, again, being clear here, I'm not going political. That's just not something we do on the Larkcast. Uh, Try to just really stay zeroed in on good news. But I just found this the illustration of this true story was like a big light bulb for me. So recently, somebody had came to me and said, "Man, have you heard of this? Like, it's like 1,000 hours outside or 10,000 hours outside." It's a lady who started, something to do with like children and getting outside and like just the benefits and sunshine and trees and play and like the values of boredom, right? And all the create everything creative, right, in our world has come from boredom. And anyhow, I was checking it out and I'm like, yeah, this is actually kind of interesting. And apparently, there's a backstory there with one of her children with autism, and then of course, all this. Eventually, this week, somebody came to me and said, "Man, have you seen this like RFK, you know, yeah, I guess position within government, and it was brought before the Senate, and so they were dealing with like this vaccination conversation, right?" And apparently, this dude RFK is like, "Look, I'm not anti-vaccination at all. I'm just saying that I'm anti-mandatory vaccinations because for some reason, um, companies, I guess, that make vaccines are actually protected by law, unlike other companies. Like there's no, they cannot be held liable." And there's a scientist that's involved who's like, look, autism was like 1 in 10,000. You would see this. It's now 1 in 36.
Yeah. Yep.
You used to get two vaccines. Now a child's like up to like 95 or something, like that.
Sure.
And anyways, like just being a dad, right? And a new grandparent, I was like, holy cow, man. Like, okay, that's interesting. Anyways, I toyed around with it, played around the conversation, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, done. I hadn't thought about it. And then I just found out that there's this lady who started this organization who went to the hearing. And all she did was go to the hearing and just post a recording of she posted like the hearing. That was it. And then the next day she says, she drops this social media thing on Instagram. She says, a master class in how to lose 10,000 followers in 24 hours. It was like step one, go to a Senate hearing. Step two, just post the public hearing. That's it. Lost 10,000 followers overnight. And I was like, dang, holy cow.
Mhm.
And of course, we didn't lose 10,000 followers overnight, but I can remember back in the day, man, like when we started Lark, just really, honing in on good news and letting it be as raw as it is, right? Not just for the person who's struggling and like running off in harm's land, but also for as Jesus does, right? Among like the good crowd. And we definitely got canceled for that. But here's where it hit
Mm-hmm.
me like a brick, dude. She said for people who have had healthy children, which apparently is like a really high number, like really healthy kids, 2, 3 years old running around, nothing wrong with them. And I guess there's, doctors that have come forward, like, yeah, they received this vaccination and the next, like, and all of a sudden, right, their autism is their story, you know what I'm saying, going forward, or, something else, even like in cases like where death came in. And she said it's the people who have dealt with this, people who have faced this, that seem to be a voice for, we're not saying no vaccines, we're just saying there should be accountability
Mm-hmm.
and that it shouldn't be a mandatory thing on someone else's child. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who have never dealt with that pain, okay, are the ones who seem to be so at odds with it and are unwilling to even listen to the scientists and the doctors that are speaking about it.
Sure.
And I was like, damn, dude. People who have dealt with the pain People who have actually faced the crushing weight that's been handed down to us from this imaginary God of expectations
Hmm.
and a faith that's tied to a system of some aspect of performance and a belonging that's found if you come. They seem to be the ones that are like, yeah, this doesn't feel like the freedom that Jesus gave.
Yeah.
And then become a voice for that freedom when they right encounter it. But if you haven't dealt with that, right, or if you've never, you know what I'm saying, then there's this, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Have you lost your mind?
Hmm.
Of course this is completely normal and should be the case for all, for everybody, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
What's wrong with my church service? Yeah, I'm just saying.
Hmm. Yeah.
And you just kind of see like that connection. And I was like, huh, okay. Maybe there's maybe there's something there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's got to be some sort of crisis, some sort of disruption, especially for you to rethink something that you've been handed and known your whole entire life, and especially something that's been handed to you as being handed down from God
Yeah.
and being attached to something so closely tied to your identity and like his love and his presence and being included and all that. In the political world, it taps into a religious aspect too, because that's
Oh,
where you're finding
100%.
your creed, your
Yep.
cult, your conduct. You have
Yeah. It's a
doctrine
religion.
there, you have community there, you have behavior there. um and that's why you see these hard lines being drawn, and no one can step across, because you're just going to get ostracized and all that. But there's got to be a crisis for sure. And I can imagine, or I literally I can't. I mean, I have a nephew, with autism, and I know a lot of people who have kids in that world. I don't know, to it wasn't like this thing like they were completely healthy and then they weren't. But yeah, dude, that'll get you asking some questions for sure.
Yeah, that's
Asking some
all I was
questions
doing,
about
man.
some assumed,
Yeah.
just mandatory behavior.
Yeah, like when the doctor was like, "Hey, you remember all the people who struggled with autism that you saw like growing up?" Speaking to like an older audience, and they're like, "Yeah, no." He goes, "Yeah, be because it was extremely rare.
Yeah.
It was 1 in 10,000, not 1 in 36."
Right.
And I was just like, and again, I'm not advocating any point here. Like it's even like we're at such a point in society, you can't even just have an open right conversation like I'm having right now, where I'm just using an example of something and saying, hey, both sides could listen to something here. And it's just like, dude, like the religion is the way religion in whatever form it comes in offers you a sense of control, a sense of security, the way that that works, right? That's why you have to draw such a hard line, and why you have to almost like, either hate or at least cancel or discard anything opposite, because it threatens that false sense of security that you have.
Mhm.
It's why political parties can't like come together and work together. It's why we only have two. You know what I'm saying? Instead of like many different voices that are trying to figure things out. And I'm like, oh man, you really see it there. And I guess there's just a freedom for just diving back in, man, to what Jesus says. And you're either at a point where you're just gonna let him say what he says and find the freedom to start rethinking, or you're not.
Yeah, and there are certain things that you are free to say in communities you belong to and even question. And then there are things that are off limits.
Um,
And here, on the Lark cast, we're definitely touching on the things that, you know, will get you booted out and get you quickly on, um, a prayer request list, and get, all your former
yeah.
friends talking about you for sure. you'll risk
Yeah.
your normalcy in the
Yeah.
church world talking about the things that we talk about here.
Yep. But you'll find life in Jesus.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think sometimes we one of the ones that's often thrown that I've heard even this week was broad is a road. Broad is a road that leads to destruction, right? Narrow, right, is the way that leads to life.
Yep.
And that's always like thrown around like in this context or in the context of like behavior camp. And I started thinking about that and I'm like, okay, just so we're clear, most people aren't out breaking the law. Most people aren't in jail. I don't think broad is a road is referring to what you think it's referring to,
No, of course not.
right? It's like no, broad is the road is a lot of good being done and secretly in the name of a sense of control because you're not willing to just let Jesus be Lord.
Yeah, narrow is the road in that this whole thing runs through one person, and his name is
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, man. He got me thinking as you were sharing just one that I kept seeing this week. I'll just share this quickly was a Relevant magazine really pushing this Jelly Roll, you know, clip that they got out right now with some new song and just
Was it the clip of him picking his booger and eating it at a UFC fight? Was it that clip?
dude,
Did you see that?
I, I did not.
Dude, right on camera, dude, sitting 2 rows behind somebody. Bro picks his nose and straight up
Don't.
puts it right in his mouth.
There's no way, man.
There
There's
it
no
is,
way.
dude. I'm sorry.
There's no.
In fact, I,
I'm like,
I, in fact, I saved that. I saved that.
no, what? Like, we should probably stop right there and just
No,
go into some type
say
of
what you
coaching
gotta
session,
say. Say what you
counseling
got.
session.
Say it.
The fact that you saved
Yep.
that clip. Oh man.
More for entertainment purposes.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just,
Hey, dude, our heroes are faultless.
yeah.
Some of them eat their boogers.
Yeah.
There's worse things.
There's worse things, man. So it's I guess some new song dude named Brandon Lake, hard fought Hallelujah coming out. Not saying by any means the song, isn't good or won't be great or anything like that. But anyhow, the whole premise of it was just again tied back to what we were talking about earlier, just idea of like Christianity. It's becoming someone for Jesus, or at least constantly showing your gratitude for him. And the one of the ways that we do this is we join this institutional idea of church, and worship is like a real big thing. You know what I'm saying? Like within that, and
Mm, the thing.
yeah, yeah, you'll straight up leave, man, if the music gets boring, if it ain't hitting.
It's not good.
And
You'll pick
I
a
guess
church
me
based on it.
seeing, oh, 100%. And
Yeah.
seeing that clip was funny because it was right on the heels of a guy reaching out to me, a friend, who said there was a big men's conference, that came through and a bunch of guys went to it, man. And man, just asking like, how was it? And it's just, oh, dude, freaking, I mean, the speaker was on point, bro. But let me just say, like, the worship hit, man. The
Hit,
worship hit.
hit
And,
hard.
and that was like every response. And he's like, man, no, like, something that I found about Jesus. You know what I mean? No, like, dude, these friends, that I made, we're going to go grab beers, this week with this new guy. And it was just, right, this worship and just the way it hit. And
Dude, it's like
so,
it's like going on vacation and hitting up a Chili's. Like, oh, let's go check out the Chili's in this town. It's like, dude, what? Like you get in a car and drive 8 hours just to go see the same damn thing you see every freaking week? Like,
yeah.
dude, you people are boring.
Yeah.
What?
It's,
What?
it's a weird thing, man. It's, especially when you really tie it to like Chili's. It's just, and just the hype of it too. Like, well, man, it's just it's just the spirit. Like the spirit just decided to come, and I'm like, so the spirit wasn't there. Like
Oh gosh.
I'm just it's just so many of these thoughts and ideas that right that we get trained in, and then wind up like becoming addicted to, man, that are just foreign to what you find in Jesus.
Well, and also too, like it's the only thing that you can think of creatively. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and you know this, you remember like if you're a young leader, you're trying to like, man, I'm gonna try to do something different. I'm gonna come up with something creative and I'm gonna create this new kind of like thing to pull people into. And all it was just worship and teaching with like the lights were off and there was candles or there was different music or the order was a little bit different. And you're just
Yep.
like, bro, like no imagination outside of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I forget who it was, but that youth pastor who was like, kind of came out of that world. And he said, man, I thought it was the spirit, dude. And then I went to a Coldplay concert, you know?
Yeah.
But I was reading through that. Anyways, this clip comes in, man, and it's just like, how music plays this role.
Hmm.
And that not only is music worship, but how it plays a role in bringing us to worship or bringing us back,
Hmm.
like to what worship is.
Sure.
And it's such an odd thing, dude, when you actually look at worship in the scriptures
Hmm.
and you sort of see like, the breakdown, the demise in it. I found this thing that Jameson wrote just on, the Father being our Father because he fathered us. And I pulled it back out late last night, man, as I was after after watching this clip about worship and music and the power of it and the need for it, why we need to get back to it. And in this piece, Jameson says, just kind of invites you into a thought experience. He says, man, have you ever wondered how weird it would be if you sang a song to your parents about how holy they are, or spoke the same creed to them every morning before eating your cereal? Or what if you only felt confident asking them for help if you had faithfully read from their memoirs that week?
Hmm.
What if you begged them to meet your daily needs, even though they've met them for years? As a father of four children, I have to say that I'd be creeped out by the singing recitations and the assumption that I'd ever let their needs go unmet. To be the father of my children is for my heart to be inseparably bound to their well being and joy. It is for me to be absolutely delighted and utterly committed to their thriving enjoyment of life and potential passing on the same. I am like that as a human father, so I can't even begin to imagine to what degree God is like that as the Father of all, who's over all, through all, and in all, as Ephesians 4 says.
Hmm.
And I was like, man, it's so it's so easy to just lose sight of the simple childlike faith that Jesus actually held up.
Hmm.
The way of friendship, right? That you find in the Trinity, that he came on, that he literally shows up and models for us and then sets us free to participate in.
Hmm. Man.
And instead, it's like, here's what worship was supposed to be. It got lost. Here's how this famous guy got back. Here's this song that's going to get you back.
A dude
And
ate a
then, right?
booger, you know?
Yeah. It's, I'm laughing because there's really like nowhere to go with that. You're like you can't heap on that guy anymore than than that. Like there's
He did
nothing
it.
else.
He did it.
No, I'm saying like you can't like there's no
It's his
following
own
that with like a
fault.
diss or let me what I'm saying, let me say something witty here about him. It's like, no, man, it it can't get any worse.
It's
It
awesome. No,
yeah.
what you're saying is awesome.
Yeah.
The booger thing's just a funny thing. But
But I
yeah,
love that
and
whole
shout
point.
out
They're
to
like, how
Jamie because
weird would
he's
it be? How odd would that be if your kids like I'm saying every morning like recited a creed to you
Oh yeah.
and decided to sing songs to you every morning about how holy
Hmm.
you are. And meanwhile
Hmm.
you have a father who's like, I just wanted to eat breakfast with you.
Yeah. Yep. Oh man, that's so good. Dude,
Yeah. These are the
killer,
things we're
killer
finding.
combo.
These are the things that are out there. These are the things that you got to exercise the atom alarm on, man. We're not knocking the sincerity in any of it. We're just saying that you could be sincere and be sincerely missing what Jesus is actually saying and inviting you into. Yeah. Till next time, folks.
Till next time.